There is a certain glow a small town gives off around the holiday season. Whether you've lived in Genoa since the 40s or moved to Elmore last year, many of you probably have your own vision of what our small towns look like this time of year. Maybe it's a large fir tree at the top of the hill coming into Elmore that comes to mind, or the light poles that line Main Street topped with wreaths and blow-mold candles. It could be the long lines wrapped around buildings waiting to sit on Santa Cork Murray's lap, or the colorful window displays lit for all to see. Throughout history, Christmas traditions in Elmore and Genoa haven't strayed far from the typical Midwestern Christmas many of us still practice today. Much like modern day, Christmas in the 19th century was a family-oriented holiday spent together feasting on Christmas Eve and sharing conversation with family and friends around the fireplace. After a long Christmas Eve awaiting Santa Claus's arrival, children woke to toy trains, teddy bears, and dolls and carriages under the hand-cut Christmas tree the next morning. It wasn't uncommon for families to travel over the holidays. The Ottawa County Exponent was notorious for running columns that shared what local families did during their leisure time throughout the year, as well as who was entertaining around the holidays. In December 1897, Edna Wyman traveled all the way from her home in Los Angeles, California to visit her aunt, Miss Henry Uthoff, a resident of Genoa. Edna was most likely a passenger of the New York Central Railroad that traveled to Genoa and made stops at the train depot located near Superior and South Railroad Streets. It is estimated that Edna's journey took around 4 days. 1 year later, a young college student, John Poffienbach, was returning to Davis Business College of Ohio, located on Adams Street in downtown Toledo, after spending his holiday vacation at home with his parents in Elmore. Christmas is now seen as one of the busiest travel holidays, falling behind Thanksgiving. College students return home for their long winter breaks, and families travel to celebrate Christmas and New Year's Eve among family and friends. After the turn of the century, not much changed. Christmas trees were cut by hand and decorated with paper ornaments, glass bulbs, popcorn garland, and wick candles that were lit at night. It wasn't uncommon for tree trimmings to catch fire in the open flames. George Bredhoff, longtime resident of Oak Harbor and author of the Old-Timer column in the Ottawa County Exponent, remembers this vividly. In his Christmas article written in December of 1971, he recalls watching the tree catch fire. "The Christmas Eve program at the church was a big event," said Bredhoff. "We did see a trimmed Christmas tree here, but we did not see our own until Christmas morning. The tree at the church was lighted by burning candles, and I remember one Christmas Eve when some of the trimmings on the tree caught fire from the open blaze of a candle. Prompt action by men like Russ Bordeaux and George Kessler saved the tree from going up in flames." Holiday living room decor didn't see a style shift until the 50s, when the famous aluminum Christmas trees made their debut. Equipped with a rotating color wheel, these silver beauties were popularized through the 60s and didn't require additional lights because of their reflective properties. This fad soon died down as fir trees regained popularity after Charlie Brown chose an evergreen over an evergleam in A Charlie Brown Christmas. Though we practice similar traditions today, a few things have changed over time. Before the 17th century hit, gifts under the tree were far and few between. The practice of giving and receiving gifts grew tenfold in the first half of the 1800s due to the marketing efforts and the popularity of advertisements and capitalism. Many businesses in Elmore and Genoa took part in this growing phase. First, illustrated ads hit the newspapers. From Fieldbach Brothers Grocery Store, where Christie's Corner Cafe sits, advertising rare fruits from the Golden Coast, to C.H. Janiff running a diamond ring giveaway contest in the end of 1907, there was little to no newspaper space left unfilled. With circulation numbers up throughout the holiday season, local businesses ran sales for food, hardware, and household goods. In 1924, you could swing by F.L. Close in Genoa and grab 5 pounds of sugar, 2 pounds of buckwheat flour, 2 large boxes of cornflakes, and 6 bars of Kirk's Flake soap for under $1. In the mid-1950s, Tank's Meat was running a special on sirloin steak for 89 cents a pound. Christmas greetings were shared by almost every place in town. Businesses took to the papers to show their appreciation for their customers and spread holiday cheer by offering their wishes filled with warmth and the spirit of Christmas. Recipes were also found in the column of newspapers. Large gatherings, fancy parties, and Christmas morning required home-cooked meals, and not everyone had the money to purchase new cookbooks every year to keep up with the latest and greatest food fads. From Auntie Co's ginger snaps to candied chestnuts, women submitted their most loved Christmas recipes to the papers. With the advancement of technology, radio advertisements increased, as well as colored photo ads mainly aimed at children. The first Sears Christmas Wish Book hit shelves in 1933 and displayed items like live singing canaries, the Miss Pigtails doll with real hair, and a Mickey Mouse watch. The Sears Christmas Wish Book was a long-awaited gift in itself for young children. The first book to reach homes was only 87 pages. Fast forward 35 years, and the catalog had grown to 608 pages, full of advertisements from fondue pots to drill sets to satin robes. With the change in buying habits came a change in advertisements. Sears chose to discontinue its Wish Book in 1993. Printed ads dwindled as televisions and computers became more popular in homes. Nowadays, long lines and big crowds are avoided by ordering gifts online and having them delivered to the front door. Advertisements weren't the only holiday trend found in the local papers. Letters to Santa were widely published in newspapers in large cities beginning in the late 1800s. In the 1870s, children took to penmanship to ask for gifts such as prayer books and writing desks. As Christmas evolved, they began asking for toys and sweet treats. These letters started pouring in to smaller local post office after poems, photos, and illustrations of St. Nick sorting letters from parents of good children and naughty children were published in the widely circulated Harper's Weekly. Not soon after, newspapers around the country were seeing the arrival of handwritten letters flood into local post office as well as arrive on their doorsteps. These letters were so vast in quantity that they began piling up. While some of these letters were published in the columns of newspapers, most were sent to the dead letter office where they were destroyed. The press and public returned the actions with complaints that children's Christmas wishes were being neglected. With a push, the United States Postal Service began allowing charity groups to answer the letters as long as they had postmaster approval. One of the biggest letter answering programs that came to fruition was the Santa Claus Association of New York City, established by broker John Gluck in 1913. The Santa Claus Association answered tens of thousands of letters and often hand-delivered gifts to these children. Many raved about the group in papers and in public. Every year, funds are requested to cover the growing cost of postage and gifts. 15 years after launch, it was found that Gluck had pocketed most of his money, including several donations made to the organization. As a result of Gluck's actions, the United States Postal Service changed its policy restricting private access to the letters. This led to the establishment of Operation Santa Claus, which allows organizations or individuals to adopt the letters and send responses in Santa's place under USPS guidance. The program grew in popularity after being spotlighted in the 1947 film Miracle on 34th Street, and then again on The Tonight Show after Johnny Carson read several letters each December urging viewers to take part in the program. Operation Santa Claus is still in use today. 8-year-old Elmore resident Ruth Lohr had her letter published in Elmore papers next to her brother Clarence. Ruth requested that Santa bring her a handkerchief, a storybook, and a few postal cards. Her 9-year-old brother Clarence's ask consisted of an air gun, BB bullets, a tablet, pencil, a pair of roller skates, oranges, candy, and nuts. Although Clarence's tablet might not resemble the tablets that are sought after today, the yearn for Santa's approval and acknowledgement hasn't disappeared. Christmas influences were found all over town, including in the halls of our schools. Winter dances became increasingly popular in the mid-1900s and were the perfect excuse to get into the holiday spirit before the end of the quarter. Many hours were poured into the Sleigh Bells in the Snow Christmas formal at Genoa High School in 1974. Aluminum Christmas trees were pieced together, paper snowflakes were cut, and bare walls were covered. From polyester plaid to dark velvet, students were dressed in their Christmas best. Santa Claus entered through a candy cane gateway and was greeted by the jingling of sleigh bells and the twinkling of Christmas lights as festive sounds of "Down Home" filled the cafeteria. Dances and formals were just the beginning of many celebrations. The holidays were observed down hallways and in classrooms. Trees were erected and decorated all over the building, and excitement for the upcoming holiday break was exerted through classroom parties. The Elmore High School freshman class of 1957 enjoyed a Christmas party in Miss Eggard's homeroom. Lydia Semrock, Mylan Kardotsky, Rex Ohl, Jim Bolander, John Votaw, Tom Dolph, Bob Kuhlman, Bob Waterman, John Morris, Danny Woods, and Faye Rothards were a few of the students present. Santa roamed the halls with his red suit and big white beard, passing out candy canes and small gifts from his toy sack. Students took turns sitting on his lap reciting their Christmas wishes. Christmas plays were performed like the Genoa PTA Christmas program of 1958 depicting the birth story of Jesus. Christmas band and choir concert filled the halls with eager pupils ready to perform their skits and play their instruments. Some of the most packed places in town in late December were the many churches in Genoa and Elmore. Masses were extended, church groups were full, and themed programs were abundant. Although this year may greet us with drive-up nativity scenes and parking lot services, that hasn't always been the case. Elmore Church of God has been putting on Christmas performances for over 50 years. Ba Ba Bethlehem and Duffy the Fluffy both premiered in 1990, followed by I Wish You Jesus in 1996 and Stranger in a Manger in 2002. Churches weren't only used for services, but as a place to share camaraderie with friends, exchange gifts, and decorate for the season. The Elmore Church of God homed in on their crafting skills in 1918. Volunteers made a terrace out of paper streamers and strung stars next to the tissue paper bells. Solomon Lutheran Church in Woodville followed suit in 1937. Pine arches decorated with tinsel and bells welcomed patrons as they made their way into the pews. When we look back on the 20th century, Christmas seems like a timeless holiday. Decorations, advertisement, music, and Christmas lists may have evolved, but quality time with family remains the center of tradition.